Well, hi, my name is Brady Pieper. I'm the host of the Pieper Sports Podcast, and I'm joined today by someone ever so gracious and kind to join us on the show today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Josh Dover from Altitude Sports Radio.
Well, what do you do on Altitude?
So I host a show every day with Scott Hastings, Ryan Harris, Harris in Dover. We're on 10 to 2 on 92.5 in Denver or altitudesportsradio.com. I do Nuggets post-game shows as well. Same thing, right? After the Nuggets game's over, I'll talk about it with you on 92.5. I teach at the Colorado Media School, and I was just saying that I also host a radio show at Westwood One, a top 40 show that goes out to like 60-plus affiliates all over the country. So all over the place. Mostly sports.
More than I do. I host one show and write stories for one entity. I've watched your Twitter. I'm a follower.
Yeah,
basketball's at your heart. That's where your heart belongs.
Yes.
What started your basketball prowess? What really got you into it?
Well, I'm originally from Indiana, so it's almost religion out there. So I was born in a very, very small town, Seymour, Indiana. Actually going back next weekend for the first time in a very, very long time. But it's just something my family loves. I've always loved. My dad grew up playing the game. So, when I could hold something, it was a basketball that I was holding. When I learned how to walk and dribble it at the same time, that's all I really did from a young age. So growing up in Indiana, especially a small town, the Hoosiers were everything. Still kind of the one team I will publicly and non-shamefully root for are the Indiana Hoosiers. So it just going back that and growing up, we had a football team that was very, very far away in Indianapolis. We didn't have a baseball team, hockey in Indiana. I mean, still, nothing there. So it was it. It was all we had, and we clinged on and held on for dear life, and I still do.
I grew up playing baseball, football, obviously. I'm 6'3", 200-odd
yeah,
pounds.
You got the build.
Yeah, for sure. People confuse me with defensive linemen all the time, and I say, it's been a while. But, where did you play? Did you play, Little League? Did you move up? High school? How far did you go?
I played through high school, yeah. I mean, I played every sport growing up. I played baseball growing up. I played football growing up. I played basketball growing up. I just wasn't as good at those others as I was at basketball, and I'm not even a great basketball player. I can just shoot. Again, I think that was because I was born in Indiana. You get a little bit of that being born there. But I played throughout high school. I went to North Glen High School. We were not very good. We competed for what was our Front Range League championship the years that I played, but no noise in state or anything like that. Our center was 6'5", and you get into some of those, especially junior and senior year, some of the centers are actual centers. So we played small ball before it was popular, and it didn't work back then. So
obviously, end of the basketball season, it's a rough end of the year for the Nuggets. NBA Finals, wrapping up to a close. After all, what is the meaning for this year for the Nuggets, like for the future going forward?
A lot. I mean, they grew up a lot. They learned how to win in the regular season. They learned how to not take nights off in the regular season. All 82 matter. They found that out the 2 previous seasons by missing by a game. You learn how to, win a game in San Antonio, beat the San Antonio Spurs, kind of get the chance to checkmate on Greg Popovich. You also have an opportunity to learn how to win a Game 7. Learn how to lose a Game 7. You learn a lot from that with Portland. And everybody evolved a little bit. Gary Harris dealt with injury, but his offensive side continues to get better. Nikola Jokic, not just a Denver bias, the NBA agrees, was the best center in the entire NBA. So they grew up a lot this year, and it's just the beginning of what this team's going to do.
For sure. What's kind of the allure to the Nuggets? Obviously, it's a job. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you can be a fan, but you're there for 9 to 5 type thing.
Yeah.
What kind of are you a big fan about with the Nuggets?
Right now, I mean, obviously the guys on the team. Nikola Jokic is the easy one, a dude that was a 41st overall pick. They were airing a Taco Bell burrito on ESPN when Nikola Jokic got picked, and the dude could win an MVP here in the next couple of years. So that story is very awesome. It's inspiring, all that good stuff. He's also, genuinely just a really cool kid. He is, very young, making a whole lot of money in a foreign country where the language is his second language. So it's a cool story to follow and watch. And I've been around the Nuggets now for a handful of years where I got into media young when George was the coach, and George Karl was leading this team to 57 wins. They were the 3 seed, hosting who are these Stephen Curry-led Warriors at the 6th seed, and Pepsi Center's going crazy. Well, and they fired George, all that good stuff, and you go down this roller coaster that's what being a fan is. And now to see them kind of back on the rise with a whole new staff, I mean, from trainer to head coach to GM to everybody, it's cool to be a part of this process of they ripped it all down, built up, and here we are now to see it kind of paying off. That tear down, it's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. Watching the season was kind of that Cinderella story. You know, kind of in your heart, especially with these younger teams that, like, they're not going to win it all. There are teams that are better that you guarantee are going to beat you in a 7-game series. And I feel like overall, you kind of knew that as a Nuggets fan going in. Mm-hmm. But seeing this team overachieve was one of the highlights of, the year for us. Obviously Avalanche making it far, Nuggets making it far, Broncos making moves to potentially make it far. We're going to shift a little bit talking about stadiums. I just got back from a trip.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
It was an adventure. So today is Monday, the day of recording. Thursday, I was at a Rangers game in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
I was in Frisco, Texas, watching a Dirk Nowitzki celebrity baseball game, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
They love their baseball out there. They have huge stadiums, even for AA teams like the Frisco Rough Riders. Saturday, I went to a Houston Astros game. It was hot as all hell. And Sunday, I went to a Kansas City Royals game. So
that is awesome, man.
I've driven all the way. Is there really stadiums that you've experienced for basketball, these centers, these really, really cool like TD Garden or Staples Center? Are there really the same style or feeling you get as a baseball stadium?
I haven't been to TD Garden. I've been to Staples Center a whole bunch of times, Madison Square Garden a couple of times. And, I mean, Madison Square Garden might kind of be the exception just because it's the Mecca, right? It's where everybody wants to be for whatever market you're in or field that you're in. New York City is the place to do it in. So there it was a different feeling. Probably easily, I would say, separates itself from all basketball or hockey, basketball for the same arenas. But any other arena that I've been to for those two sports, the Garden was that. For baseball, I don't know. It's just so different because, one, it's summer. When I went to New York City the couple times, it was raining and it's cold and you're walking to the game like, this sucks. Yeah. I don't want to be out here right now. But for baseball, it's so different because it's 75 degrees at 9 o'clock at night and you're watching the sunset on the Rockies while you're drinking a cold beer. That certainly helps for baseball stadiums. But for me, if you think like a bucket list stadium or a trip that you kind of just went on, outside of, going back to Indy and seeing the Hoosiers play in Bloomington, which, that never gets old for me. It's
sure.
Wrigley that you want to go to. It's Fenway that you want to go to. It's Yankee Stadium, I guess, because you can check it off the list, but I'm not too thrilled with the new stadium. But baseball stadiums always jump to the top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of summer iconic, obviously date idea. Go out, $15 tickets with a chick and go out and see a cool game.
Right.
I mean, Chicago Cubs in town tonight. I'm thinking like, let's go 5 stadiums in 5 days. But
yeah, get yourself a rock pile ticket. You get there for $7.
I can do that, or I can go home and sleep, and that might be the best idea. What would you say is your best experience at a baseball stadium?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, as a fan. This was, 5-6 years ago. The Cubs were actually in town. I don't even remember the player's name, so it must not have been too memorable. But I caught in a 3-game series with the Rockies hosting the Cubs. I went to all 3 games. The person I was seeing was a Cubs fan, so we went and she got to see her Cubs play. I caught 2 balls in the 3 games from foul territory. One was the center fielder of the Cubs, who I literally can't remember his name, but caught the first ball on a Friday night. Like, hey, it's the first time I ever caught a freaking baseball. Of course I'm keeping that thing. Brought it home and caught one the very next day, but the second one was one of those rollers up the line, and I just reached over and grabbed it. And a few innings before, the family next to us had got a ball, and one of the kids had actually caught it. And I don't know if you have any siblings, but when you have something one of your siblings don't, you rub it in their face hardcore.
Oh, of course.
And little brother was kind of doing that to big brother. So when I got the second, I thought, I got one from last night. I'll hand it off to little brother or big brother so he can stop being made fun of. And I got home that night from the game, and my dog had eaten the first ball.
Oh, no way.
So I have no ball.
Wow. I went to, so at the Rangers game, I was sitting front row, left field, right down the foul line. And Smith Jr. on the Orioles hits a fly ball out to left field for the third out, throws me the ball.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, I may not look like a kid. I'm 18. I may not look like it. The neckbeard's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll say there aren't many sports out there that you can kind of get this feel that you can be a kid again, and you can be a good person, give the ball away, but still feel, you know, happy on the inside. Because I mean, even with football games, you get a kick that goes over the net, and you have to give the ball back. Yeah. They'll give you like a fake replica ball later, or basketball. Just toss the ball back in.
I do have a couple of real live NFL footballs from the Broncos. Mostly because we did a stunt with Vic Lombardi, who thought he could kick a football 40 yards and kick a field goal, and he couldn't. So we kept the footballs, and I hang on. I'm like, oh, this is an actual. You see the K for the kicker ball, you know. And I will say, to the feeling like a kid again, way before media. I mean, I was 15 years old, I believe, at the time. And Larry Walker used to ride a motorcycle into Coors Field and leave it in a little hallway for the players to walk into. A buddy of mine had an unfortunate incident and then got to go and do this cool event with Larry, including some of the tickets. So we're in the hallway when Larry's coming in on his motorcycle, and literally in his saddlebags he had some bats, like his bats for the game. And as he rode by, my buddy Nick, he pulled a bat out and handed it to Nick, and I was like, this is freaking awesome, man. Right now I get the feeling of like, man, I was a little kid and saw Larry Walker. Like, that'll never go away. So that's the reason you love baseball.
You know, obviously playing for so many years, I mean, have a baseball tattoo for those that have seen it. You know, people confuse it all the time. They're like, oh, why do you have like a maxi pad on your arm or stitches? I'm like, no, it's a baseball. And they're like, not really. And, you know, I feel like just honing that kid-like spirit, just that fun, go to a ballpark game. I feel like we're spoiled at Coors Field just because of the ability Coors has to, you know, cater to the adult crowds with the craft beers and have, you know, the in-stadium grown beer with all the cool bar scene downtown, and it's obviously in such a great place of town. What stadiums have you been to, baseball or otherwise, that you would say are your favorite?
Like I said, Madison Square Garden, that's the top of the list for me.
Really?
I got to go just this year for the second time and the first time a couple of years ago. But this year, I got to see Greek Freak play. Man, I can't remember. Oh, it was the game Mario Hezonja dunked on him and then like stepped over him, and everybody was going crazy. That was a lot of fun. The old Three River Stadium in Cincinnati, I watched a ton of baseball games there as a kid because, as I said, in Indiana, that was the closest. We could get in the car for 6 hours and make it over. I got to see Barry Larkin play live there a few different times. Staples Center, I've been to a few different times. Once for a wrestling event, like as a kid, WWF wrestling, and it was freaking awesome. You know, the old McNichols. I got to watch Magic Johnson play basketball at the old McNichols Arena.
No way.
Here in Denver. And that was something just incredible. Growing up as a huge Magic Johnson fan, my dad was, so it trickled down a little bit. And I got to go to Arrowhead 3 years ago, and the stadium wasn't much that I was impressed at.
Yeah, it's run down.
Yeah,
it really is.
But the fans, I mean, man, they are as insane as you would think they'd be. And I was smart. I dressed neutral. I didn't display the colors of team I was rooting for, or maybe not rooting for, and just had fun with this. So I'd go the Garden for sure. McNichols, because I saw Magic, like it wasn't anything special. I don't know who's gone to McNichols or not. It was small, but I got to see Magic play there. And then I'd probably go Three Rivers, my top three.
I mean, it's a pretty good top three. I'd say experiences for me, at least. Number one has to be a couple years back when the Denver Broncos were hosting the New England Patriots for the AFC Championship game. I was lucky enough to get 17th row seats in the end zone where you know, Tom Brady was making his final drive downfield and Gronkowski scored the touchdown. That was maybe 200 feet away from me, and that's
cool.
That was a cool experience. That's probably top of my list. Second, I would probably put, experience-wise, I'd say Minute Maid Park for the Astros. Just because I went, it was closed. They closed it off. It was hot as all get out outside, and it was just beautiful inside. They put a real big spectacle in there, and they drive a golf cart around with a T-shirt cannon. And
nice. I want to shoot that thing so bad.
Oh, just imagine getting hit by it. Yeah, that's a dangerous one. And third, I'd probably say any hockey game. Any hockey game, just the atmosphere of a hockey game. Well, we'll talk a tiny bit, and then I'll let you get out of here because I know it's your day off. But overall, what makes radio so different? What makes it a really cool entity? Obviously, I do it, you do it. What makes it different and better in your mind than other?
I worked in TV for a little bit, the digital version of TV. When I worked at the Denver Post, we did the sports show with Woody Page and Les Shapiro. I was the producer of the show, director of the show, floor director of the show, all that good stuff. And it was great. I mean, I wouldn't change that experience for the world. I got to meet Woody Page and Les Shapiro, and Woody's a reference on my resume. That goes a long way. But we would shoot the show at 10, 11 in the morning whenever Woody wanted to roll in, and then we would air the show at 3 o'clock. So things happened from 11 to 3 that we just skipped. Man, that's what you live with in the TV world, especially when it's shot and put in the can like that. Obviously your live news hits and things are, as they say, live. I love the aspect of live radio. I mean, we're sitting here right now talking into live microphones about the news that is happening right now. And if something happens on our phone, which we all have, guess what? We get to talk about it right now because we are on the air. I love that. I'm a little bit of a talk radio nerd because I grew up with it. My dad listened to sports talk radio in the car when we drove to the store, to my baseball games, to my basketball games, to go shoot at the park and work on taking jumpers off of a screen and roll. We listened to sports talk radio. So I guess for me, it's kind of been in my life for a very, very long time. And also, my relationship with my father is based on sports. And this is what we get to talk about. So it's kind of been a long time coming for me. But I just love the daily dynamic live version of radio.
I feel like the aspect of having the freedom to, be able to speak, mostly freely. Of course, regulations, FCC, all that fun stuff.
Can't say anything, but
you can't say anything, but you can say just about that much. Yeah. And I feel like the ability to have live updating news without too much editing or too many blips here, I feel like it's a great opportunity. Is there anything you want to say, shout out, anything you want to plug, your show?
The radio show for sure, yeah.
Twitter?
My Twitter, I'm at Joshua Dover. Follow me on Twitter. I like to have some fun. I don't take it serious, so relax on the Twitter machine. But follow me on Twitter at Joshua Dover. I am on the radio every day, 92.5 in Denver, altitudesportsradio.com with Hastings, Harris, and Dover. Ryan Harris won the Super Bowl. Scott Hastings got an NBA championship. And I got a couple rec league titles. So we talk all about it every single day.
Well, a champion of the people and a champion of the sport. This has been the Pieper Sports Podcast. I thank you guys very much. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the generic things that YouTubers do. And I'll see you next video. Yeah, that was fantastic.